let's move on
Yeah.
to a very crucial skill as an instructor of fault identification.
Right.
Now, within fault identification, we need to predict faults. We need to look for the clues that the fault's going to happen.
Yep.
We need to prevent faults. We
Yep.
need to react to faults. So there are going to be some faults that, like we've practiced before, where you are physically going to override something because there's potential danger. Or react to a fault. So the initial reaction or react to. And then fix, of course. So there's various things that we have to do. But I think the first important thing that you're able to do is identify it. Because if you don't identify a fault, how can you possibly make it a learning opportunity?
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yep.
Tell me what you think that, for you, the definition of a fault would be.
Something that I wouldn't do as a driver, safely manoeuvring around driving.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Something that causes other people, but then I wouldn't have done it. So yeah, basically something that I wouldn't do.
Mm-hmm. And basically, Joe, that is the foundations of your part 1 and your 2.
Yeah.
You know, your knowledge and understanding of what it is that you should and you shouldn't be doing form the basis of how you can judge somebody else's ability to do it against that.
That's really been highlighted
Yep.
these last few sessions.
So you're absolutely right. This is your ability to judge a people's actions and behaviours against your own.
Yeah.
And a fault would be something that people does or doesn't do that you would or wouldn't have done.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
And of course, the last session that we did, we started touching on that whole awareness of somebody else doing it. So the timing of your instructions, I think we talked about the fact that if you are doing your mirror checks at the point where you've said check a middle mirror and a left mirror, you're not looking at people who's checking a middle and left mirror, and therefore you don't know whether you've done it or not.
Yeah.
So you're going to see how this then links into where you should be looking at and what you should be looking at and the timing of. All we're going to do is go for a drive where I'm not role playing, I'm not going to take the role of a particular pupil. I'm just going to reenact the fault. And I'm not going to need you to instruct me or anything like that. I just want you to tell me when you recognise what the fault is.
Yep. Okay.
Okay? So just literally we're going to focus on the fault ID.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
And I'm only going to put in one fault. So I'm not going to give you reams and reams of faults. The point where you've recognised what the fault is, we'll acknowledge the fault was there and we'll move on. So at the end of the road I'm going to turn right.
You didn't check your right mirror?
Okay.
I don't think.
You don't think? Okay. I'm going to continue to make the same fault for you to confirm.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're just going to confirm and either dismiss it or add to it.
Yeah.
At the end of the road, I'm going to turn right.
Yeah, you haven't checked your right mirror.
Okay. Just my right mirror.
I think you glanced in your middle mirror.
Okay. Tune in again. I'm going to take the next road on the right.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah. Perhaps your eyes had flicked. That first one, I thought you had checked. I really thought you had checked. I think I saw your eyes, but perhaps they weren't looking up here. Perhaps they were looking over here.
Maybe. You saw some kind of movement?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm just going to recreate the fault again, just so that you can absolutely feel it.
Yeah, your eyes didn't.
Yeah, happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to throw in another fault. At the end of the road, I'm going to turn right.
Oh, you signalled before you mirrored. You S'd before you M'd.
Do you want to...
He was funny, wasn't he?
It's like a little caricature. Have a confirmation at your next junction.
Did you not do that?
I'm going to turn right.
Yeah.
Well done.
You S'd before you M'd.
Okay, I'm going to throw in another fault.
You did it all at the same time. Oh, I'm good at this bit.
Have the confirmation at the next junction so you feel it again.
Yeah. I think this is what I do with my husband in the car. Just pick holes.
A natural critique.
Yeah. Oh, one done
I'm
that.
going to turn right.
Oh, and if I'm honest, I think I'm still a little bit guilty of it
Mm-hmm.
in my own driving.
Mm-hmm. Okie dokie. I'm going to throw in another fault.
Oh, wrong gear. Shudder, shudder, shudder.
What point did you realise?
When it was shudder, shudder, shuddering.
Okay.
Yes, I wasn't watching what you were doing. I only heard it.
Mm-hmm.
I only recognised it when I heard it. So I wasn't preventing it.
So, one more go for feeling that, of noticing it. I'm going to take the next road on the right.
Oh, car didn't like that.
So, why did you think that you picked it up only at the point where you got the clue, the audio and kind of visual clue? Because you weren't.
I was so focused on your eyes to make sure you were doing that.
Okay.
I wouldn't, yeah. Because you hadn't made that fault before.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where the fault was coming. So yeah, so I'm not talking through in my head your MSPSL routine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just waiting for you to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, rather than me thinking, is the pupil doing what I should be doing?
Yeah.
What I would be doing?
Yeah.
And if I would have come off my gas, clutched down, given it first gear, and they haven't,
Yeah.
that's your little alarm bell.
Yeah.
Okay, so same again. I'm going to turn right.
wrong way.
I'm going to cancel it so I don't confuse.
Yeah.
How did you know?
I don't know.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
What did you see?
Your hand did that and not...
Yeah.
Yeah. It just didn't feel right.
It's not about the visual clue of your little indicator. It
Oh
was
no, because I hadn't...
Yeah, it was something that you saw do that.
Yeah. I just didn't feel right.
Clues will you get that the people is going to put a signal on, but you weren't expecting them to put one
there. But like your hand was in the wrong place.
Yeah. So just tuning into that now. What signal am I about to put on?
Yeah, up. So right.
What signal am I about to put on?
Yeah, left.
Yeah. Feel it?
Yeah.
Really, really subtle things that you're going to start noticing them doing or not doing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to throw another thought in. At the end of the road, I'm going to turn right.
Your clutch is high. Yeah, you put your clutch up quickly. Did you have any...
Feel it again?
Yeah.
At the end of the road, I'm going to turn right. I'm just going to back off because I want to
Do it.
not concern the cyclist.
Yeah. The clutch was up. You did bring up the clutch really quickly. It didn't stall because you were in the right gear, but...
And what would you have been doing with your clutch at that point? If you were coming up to that junction, what would your clutch have been doing?
It wouldn't have been right up, it would have been at biting point.
Or all the way down if I was just letting the car lose that bit of power. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so absolutely tuning into that. Okay, I'm going to throw in another thought.
Look down at your gear stick. See what gear you were in.
Have another feel for it.
Did they really do that? Did I really used to do that when I was learning?
How are you noticing it? Are you noticing it?
Yeah, your head going down.
And are you noticing
and not looking
it?
where you're going.
Are you noticing it Because you're tuning into an eye mirror? You're noticing because your peripheral vision?
Yes, it's in your peripheral. Yeah, it's in my vision out there.
Get used to having a glance in the eye mirror as well, so that you can back it up.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to throw in another fault.
I might have missed your initial mirror checks, but I think you signalled first.
Okay.
There. Braking late. You braked late.
Okay.
Broke late. Braked late.
What was the feeling then that made you say that?
The speed.
Okay.
Speed on approach.
Keep watching.
Were we close to the curb then? Was it just a really bumpy old bit of road? Yeah, it's fast going around that corner.
I have no idea why.
You're just doing it all late?
Okay, so it's possibly I'm doing it all late.
Let me look at your feet. I don't know. Yeah, braking really late on that one.
Okay, I wanted to have a look at my feet in the next junction.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You're putting your foot on the clutch.
That's the clutch. You feel the
Yeah, as it
yeah,
pulled up.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
And that's why it felt fast.
Just tune into this. Feel the feeling.
Yeah. There's no control there. It's running away with itself.
Glide, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
a bizarre. I think. Sorry, I think I can probably get out of my way.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so just you might even hear something different.
Yeah.
It might just feel smooth. It might just feel, as you say, a bit. I don't know what the word is really. Just sometimes the engine might even just lose some of its
Yeah.
tone, and certainly any engine braking then doesn't happen.
Yeah. That's why it feels like it's running away with itself. Can't turn away. I suppose the engine does make a different sound when it's
engaged.
Yeah. Because in effect it's just idling, isn't it? It's just ticking over.
So we'll do it on the next 2 junctions just so that you can really hear it. Feel
Yeah,
it.
I'm just going to listen. And then it does that. Then it catches up. And that's why it felt fast, because you weren't in control. Yeah. So that's not just speed on approach. It was just
coasting.
Yes.
And interestingly, coasting on its own, it's not a deal breaker, it's not a big deal. And in fact, what you'll find is that a lot of pupils, particularly if they get in private practice, interestingly, will coast as they're coming up to junctions, but they counteract it with a brake pedal, and therefore there is no adverse outcome.
Yeah.
So the fault is the adverse outcome. If a pupil coasted around every corner in control, nobody dies.
Yeah.
It's not efficient, not fuel efficient. It's not the best habit to get into because of that element of the car being exaggerated behaviour. But if I take this junction here, where we're going to go down the hill as we're turning,
that really highlights that.
But not if I do this.
No, because you're counteracting it with the brake. Do you remember that first day that we were using the pedals, and I was just doing the pedals, and you were just doing everything else, and we went round one of these corners, and you said, "Why have you got the clutch down?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know." And I've thought about that since, but on my drives home, and sometimes I do that.
But you possibly are.
But I'm braking as well.
Possibly compensating.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because, and I think I do. I know why I do that is because my speed on approach was too fast, and I haven't had time to get into second, or the appropriate gear, and therefore I'll just cover that with the brake. That's lazy driving, isn't it?
It's probably a habitual type of thing that has settled in. For pupils, 9 times out of 10, an early clutch going down is a safety blanket.
Yeah.
And it's a safety blanket because of a fear of stalling.
Yeah.
Not that the situation would mean that they would ever stall, but because of previous stalls that have happened, they've almost wired the high drive to think that's how I protect the stall.
Yes, of course, because you're never going to stall all the time that clutch is down.
But it also tends to be a reaction to, as you say, speed and approach. So, for example, a pupil who suddenly gets to this junction and does this, realises that they're too fast, knows they have to do something, and does the wrong thing.
Yeah.
The other reason why they do it is because of this feeling, which I'll demonstrate to you in a moment. Feel that?
Yeah.
What's that?
Is that bringing up the clutch too fast?
Is it bringing up the clutch too fast? I mean, it could be. Watch it again.
BDI on her. So where that biting point is, they're not. Yeah, it's just not gradual enough.
Okay, watching then.
Should you have some gas on there as well?
At what point? When would you like me to have some gas?
I don't know if it's horrible.
It is horrible, isn't it?
Oh, you're using the clutch. That's how you're braking. You haven't used the brake.
What gear would you be using?
I'll do it again. I wasn't looking at that. I was looking at just your feet. So if I was going around here, I'd be in second. What are we in? Oh, okay. Okay. I wasn't watching your hands, I was just watching your feet. Oh, so much to look at.
So it's the gear choice in itself
Yes.
that is potentially inappropriate.
Yeah.
And then coupled with that is that the gear choice might be appropriate. So let me give you an example. We'll do a road. Where, depending on the situation, first gear is absolutely appropriate.
Yeah.
The timing of the first gear was not appropriate.
Yeah.
So in other words, what's happening is that people is putting a car into first gear too early. So we could say that this is an appropriate junction to do first gear. I'm going to do it now, rather than killing the power out of the engine, getting the engine down to a first gear speed, and then matching the gear to the speed.
Yeah.
And actually this is a really common one where they do that the wrong way round. So they end up matching the speed to the gear they choose, rather than get your speed right, now match your gear. So like now, my priority is all about speed. Forget the clutch, forget it. Now give me the gear that's appropriate.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
So actually it's a mixture of things that you could be having to be analysing. Are they doing it because they're too early, or because it was inappropriate?
Yeah.
Wasn't needed, or is the clutch coming up too fast? Because absolutely, if I demonstrate that clutch coming up too fast, even though the gear might be appropriate,
Still bunny holes.
so absolutely appropriate gear, appropriate speed.
Yeah.
Third gear is appropriate. Even then, third gear, if you don't, potentially get it right.
Yeah.
Fourth gear is not quite so precious. Come straight off that.
Yeah.
But even if I get it right now in terms of gear choice and speed choice, I'm going to kill the power out, choose second gear, I can still just sometimes have that jolt if I come up too fast.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go for a little drive. I just want you to continue to spot a fault. I'm just going to make one fault.
Yep.
Until you notice.
Yep.
Okay.
You're looking at the speedo lots.
And how are you noticing that? An eye mirror or
Eye
are you
mirror.
noticing it? Yeah. Would you, if you took your eye mirror away, notice that?
No, not at all. Not at all.
I'm going to
see you look in your either mirror at that junction, but you may have done it. I might have just not caught it.
Okay, keep looking.
I don't like how you're parked, how you're waiting. Your wheels aren't straight. And I don't think you take your mirrors back then either.
Okay. I'm only putting in one fault in, so
Oh,
which one
okay.
are you going to go for?
This one.
Okay. If you had people sitting here at a junction like this, what might your fear be that they're going to do?
Roll. Just go. Just lose my wing. Front wing.
Let's see if I can demonstrate it.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Because there's been something about it that people's made me think you're turning right,
Yeah.
up the wrong side.
Yeah.
Particularly if they've got there at the point where there's no visual clues because there was no traffic there.
Yeah.
They don't turn into the path of oncoming vehicles. But when there's nobody coming and there's no one around and you go and make it a little bit weird because that was a dual carriageway.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they had a central reservation.
Yeah.
And they
So I knew that didn't feel right,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because that's not how I would position the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I wouldn't have dreamt that that's what they would do.
People do it on test up the wrong way of the dual carriageway.
Oh.
And the clues were there, and the examiner was just thinking, I'm ready, and the examiner grabbed the wheel and brought us back onto the correct side of the dual carriageway.
Yeah.
The other classic times that they do that is at traffic lights, where they're first in the queue at traffic lights and they're turning right,
Yeah.
and they turn up the wrong side of the road.
Yeah.
Where am I going? But as you say, you just get a little feeling that something's not very nice.
Yeah.
So, just have a think where I am in terms of. Okay, so I'm going to throw in another.
haven't looked in your middle mirror for ages. I was thinking, have I missed it? She would have looked a million times by now. I think I was waiting for a big fault. No, it's just not just.
It is. It's just, you know, it's for people doing or not doing something you would do or wouldn't do.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
That was the hardest 2 minutes of my entire life.
See? Welcome to my life. No, you don't know what's going on behind us either.
I am blind. And I think that what I did do was mirror signal manoeuvre. You know, so at the point where I came to a junction,
yeah,
I mirror signalled. At the roundabout, I mirror signalled
yeah,
in a robotic, because I've been told to, that's what you do.
Yeah, and not because you're being nosy.
The nosy mirror checks, that who's followed me,
yeah,
who's catching up with me.
I did notice that you didn't, as you pulled into the road, I thought she hasn't looked in that middle mirror to see what's behind her. I did notice then. And then I was looking at you thinking, right, it's all fine.
Those are the clues that tell you what a pupil is and isn't thinking. Because what can you demise from that fault? What is your conclusion from that 2 minutes of driving?
They don't know what's going on behind them.
Yeah, and I guess that's the outcome. They don't know.
Oh, and the mirror checks that they did do were just robotic, like you said. Not because they really wanted to know.
Yeah, and I think that that's the crux of it, is that actually what that 2 minutes tells me is that the pupil has no inclination that there might be something useful to be gaining from knowing what's going on behind.
Yeah.
So it tells me quite a lot, actually, about people can't turn right. It tells me quite a lot about what their thought processes.
Yeah.
Oh,
God.
What did I say, Jo?
She's about 150, that lady. They've still got their Christmas tree up.
See, is it me?
Or is it the world? No, it's the whole world.
Can't turn right.
No.
Okie dokie. So, one more for four.
Demonstrate how you can't turn right. I bet you can't do it.
Have a feel for it. The issue is, of course, with role-playing these type of things, is one has to be ultra sure that it's safe to do it.
It's fine. Yeah, I don't want to.
But I do want you to have that feeling.
Yeah. Oh, that's weird. That feels really weird for you to do that.
Again, have a tune in. Feeling it? Why do you think it's happening? I'm not going particularly today into the analysis, but this is part of the identification of this particular fault. So something else I'm wanting you to identify that might be happening, that then is the reason why the fault actually manifests itself. So I'll do those two junctions again, mimicking exactly the same fault. See whether you can find the underlying reason, because that's part of the identifying.
You're right over the side, that side of the road as well. Just your whole road position was wrong there.
Because actually what I'm doing is what I call drifting.
Yeah.
So if you were to imagine we break the fault down, this is my normal road position.
Yep.
Okay, so this is where I should be.
Yeah.
What's happened is that I've started doing this.
Yeah.
Now what happens, if you imagine somebody was coming, I had to stop.
Yeah.
Have they got enough space?
Yeah.
But it's almost impossible now from this position to not cut a corner.
Yeah.
Because my front wheel doesn't necessarily cut, but what happens to the back. And I think the pupils don't necessarily understand. We might have done some work on this in your part 2. I don't know whether any of you had this issue in your part 2.
Oh yes,
fixed it.
Had them all.
Is that maintaining the road position that you need until the point of turn, rather than the drift. So if I now demonstrate it correctly, you'll feel the difference. And this is why, yes, this comes down to analysis. So we've identified that cutting the corner is the problem. If you haven't also identified the fault that's happened before the point where it became obvious.
It wasn't just cutting the corner, was it?
So you can see that by maintaining, and I'd be saying to people at this point, stay here, stay, because they'd be like, oh, stay, turn.
Yeah. You almost want to get the turn out of the way and get into the new road.
Yeah. Particularly on roads that are positioned like this one is at this angle.
Yeah.
Where you would be having to do the whole resist it. So this is your reference at the moment, not that.
Yeah. And of course, there's no centre line, is there?
Absolutely. Big turns.
Yeah.
That is the thing that brings the back of the car.
Yeah.
Correctly.
Yeah.
How's that been? Fault identifying.
Another eye-opening session. And considering that I pick holes in my husband's driving all the time, it's hard. Okay, you might find, that didn't feel right, but why didn't it feel right? So it's harder than I thought it was going to be to identify the root cause.
So dissect the fault.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a fault.
Yeah.
You need to really.
Why is it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you think that you are generally quite good at critically analysing your, well, not the analysing bit actually, just critically commenting on your husband's driving.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Now start thinking, okay, so I've recognised he's done it.
Yeah.
I wonder why. What was the root cause?
I'm not going to voice those opinions.
No, don't voice the opinions. We don't recommend you voicing the opinions. I'm just going to pop in here and get rid of this guy. I'm coming in here, mate, so parking up.
So yeah, so easy to.
He's still waiting for me. So thank you.
Thank you. Double thank you. Yeah, easy to. Sometimes not even easy, but easier to notice that something doesn't feel right, but much trickier to see why. But we've done those fault analysing on the Zooms.
We have. So your brain is already tuned into the fact that that's the next step that you're going to do.
Yeah.
And as I said, this ability to fault identify, to analyse and fix, and of course prevent or react to, depending on what is actually happening, is something that we'll spend a lot of time doing, and not just on a one-to-one basis or on an individual training basis, but when you've got pupils in the car. It's just an ongoing process of continuously practicing that skill.
Yeah.